First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, who have taught me this truth. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth, risking your lives to go out there and teach. In a world that does not accept, because once you come into this truth, you find out that the world is your enemy, as it was an enemy of Yahweh Shai, and that we are the very people that he died for, the elect, the 1/3, blacks, Latinos, Native American, and the confusion of faith that be among our nation. U.S. warns Assad that any attack against their forces in Syria will end badly for them. Could this be the Damascus prophecy? You know, because no matter what, if Assad ever were to win the war, he would have no choice but to get the United States and its occupation out of there. The Pentagon issued a stern warning to Bashar al-Assad on Thursday after he said that his troops will retake lands from the U.S.-backed forces if they do not leave Syria. In response to Assad, the Pentagon warned that any attack against its allies will be a bad policy. Any interested party in Syria should understand that attacking the United States or our position partners, which are the terrorists, will be a bad policy. Well, it's a bad policy that they're there because there's no way that Bashar al-Assad or the Syrian people are going to support terrorists, you know, because that's all that America's ever been is a terrorist. Because who runs America? Who is the holding company? What's he the holding company for? These goddamn Amalekites, these fake-ass fucking Jews, you know, that are fucking doing this shit. Lieutenant General McKenzie response came after he was asked about Assad's comments towards the terrorist group Syrian Democratic Forces. Okay, so we're going to play Chris Green AMTV part now. Okay, so it's really Chad, because, of course, Chris Green's not on this one. So here we go.
And what's going on in Syria now, we still have U.S. troops there. Okay, U.S. troops are still there. They're supposedly training rebels. This is what's occurring. But what have we seen? We have seen that Russia, Bashar al-Assad, Iran, and Israel, they're kind of all negotiating, right? They're all negotiating because of this one primary reason. You have Bashar al-Assad's government, okay, who's basically cleared out most of Syria. They have the biggest swath of territory in Syria. They're obviously finishing clearing out little territory surrounding Damascus. Now they're going to go a little bit southwest Damascus to clear that area out as well. And clear the area out of who? Right? These supposed rebels, well, most of them are radical Islamists. This is what we see. But we have Israel who negotiated with Iran to say, look, you can't allow Iranian troops to be in the south area that's near the Israeli border, especially when the fight is occurring to clear and to basically get back the territory. So these negotiations have been going on, and Israel's hand is so strong, okay, because they've been bombarding the Bashar al-Assad government, they've been attacking Iranian bases and so forth, and they've really put up an aggressive, not just negotiation, but attack on the Bashar al-Assad government, threatening not only Syria's survival, but threatening to attack Iran, and this has been going back and forth between the two countries, obviously. So this is what Bashar al-Assad just said. In an interview, he was stating that the U.S. has to leave, okay? Now, this is what's happening with President Putin, because what did he say after meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu? That all foreign forces need to leave. Who is he really talking to? Is he really talking to Iran? Is he really talking to his own country? No, he's talking to the United States. He's talking also countries like Saudi Arabia that they need to leave, because who is the victor in Syria? Bashar al-Assad. Who is the victor? Who won this war? Okay, Bashar al-Assad. So now it's time for all foreign forces to leave. And he's saying that obviously if the U.S. leaves, okay, then Iran will back off. There will be no need, and so will Russian forces. As long as the survival, as long as the Bashar al-Assad government is implemented, it's solidified, it's protected, we won the war. But do you think the United States is going to leave? Absolutely not. Their interest is to divide Syria. Honestly, this deep state policy of intervention in Syria is only causing the war to go on longer. Would you agree? But this is what Bashar al-Assad stated. This is what he stated. The government has started opening up the doors for negotiations and that the U.S. troops have to leave. If not, we're going to resort to liberating those areas by force. He's talking about areas that are held by the rebels and where the U.S. special troops are, that we're going to liberate these areas by force. We don't have any other options with the Americans or without the Americans. The Americans should leave now. Somehow they are going to leave. Obviously, if Bashar al-Assad decides to send his military and starts fighting with U.S. troops, that is going to have a huge effect throughout the entire region. So, I lay out a question to you guys. Do you think the Americans are going to leave? Do you think we're going to leave? No, because the deep state policy is there to ensure they split up Syria, okay, for oil, territory, and power. Do you think Russia is going to leave? No, they spent too much resources to protect the Bashar al-Assad government for oil, territory, and power. Do you think Iran is going to leave? Iran and Syria have been allies for so long. They have helped protect the Bashar al-Assad government for a very long time. They are not going to leave. So, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to update you as soon as possible.
Ezekiel prophecy happening. So we may see Isaiah 17 real soon. Okay, so what's been happening is, of course, the United States and its allies have been expanding. Satellite images show U.S. expanded Tanf base as battle for Syria South looms. So, basically, United States is supporting the terrorists, as it always has, because America is the terrorist. The United States military has reportedly expanded its base in Tanf area as the Syrian government forces amass more troops for final battle in Dara province. Recently published satellite images show several buildings and barricades have been added to the base during the past 3 months, as well as heavy military equipment, including at least 30 technical vehicles. According to the latest reports, the United States shall hand over Tanf base to the Syrian forces under the Dara offensive, expected to be launched on movement. In exchange, Russian guarantees that no attacks will be waged by the Syrian Arab Army against the U.S.-backed forces in eastern Syria. Meanwhile, more reinforcements pour into the southern battleground of Dara for the upcoming major offensive. So, pretty much this thing's going to escalate. And as I said before, we may see Isaiah 17, Jeremiah 49 come to pass. Of course, there's more. EU making progress on protecting Iran trade. French Foreign Minister. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian says the European Union, which is the Ten Horns, has made progress on measures to protect the bloc's companies from U.S. sanctions on Iran, but they are still insufficient. We have moved forward on one point, which is the implementation of a European rule that dates from 1996, which have modernized and allows us to protect our firms against the American terrorist pressure, but that's not enough, he told France's LCI television. So, anyhow, the Ten Horns are beginning to hate the whore. Isn't this wonderful? U.S. warns of ability to take down China man-made islands. So, of course, they're going to start shit here. Pentagon official has warned China that the U.S. military could take down Beijing's artificial islands. Well, don't be a chicken shit. Fucking do it. You fucking piece of shit. All you are is a bunch of fucking talking heads. Why don't you fucking do something instead of just run your mouth, you piece of shit? Fuck you, Esau. That's what I say. I want to encourage this. Esau's a fucking coward. He's a piece of shit. I would tell you that the United States military has had a lot of experience in the Western Pacific taking down small islands. Of course, you fucking bombed the shit out of goddamn places, but you're now a bully that the rest of the world is, let the weak say I'm strong. We're seeing this happening. Isn't this a great thing? So yeah, we just sit back and relax. It's like, just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Go ahead, attack China, you piece of shit. Which is really Moab. U.S. seeks to provoke conflict with Syrian forces, commentator. A commentator says the United States seeks to provoke a conflict with Syrian government forces in an attempt to justify a new war. So that's what this is really about. Purposely starting a new war. I'm going to see if I can get this video to play. Hold on a second.
Now is Scott Bennett. He's a political commentator, and he joins us via Skype from San Francisco. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Bennett. Now, what is the real chance of there to be a confrontation, so to speak, between the Syrian armed forces and those militant groups that the U.S. supports, or even the U.S. itself?
Well, that's what they're banking on. That's what they want. They want a conflict. They want to desperately provoke and trigger some sort of an engagement where the United States forces and the Bashar Assad Syrian forces can get into a conflict, because then the United States can claim, like they did in the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam, that they were invaded, they were harmed, they were killed, American soldiers killed, and therefore a new war needs to be justified. They're waiting for that. Now, Syria, and I don't think Bashar Assad will be foolish enough to fall into that. He does not need to engage in an aggressive offensive war. He simply needs to operate under a siege mentality. That means surrounding every base, every piece of land that the SDF forces and the U.S. forces are located on, and surround them completely and ensure that they do not break out. They do not have any breathing room, any inches to expand, any maneuverability.
Shalom. So, anyhow, that's what's going on there. Pretty much, they're trying to back them into a corner.
It was taken by the terrorists. So this is an opportunity for President Bashar Assad basically to take the high ground and say to the world, we're dropping flyers that say to the rest of the areas that were taken by the U.S. SDF forces, that there are rogue military elements within the United States that are disobeying President Trump. There are rogue elements that are seeking to destabilize Syria, to expand terrorists up into Turkey, up into Europe, up into Russia. And for that reason, Syria and all of the other countries that are interested, such as Iran and Russia and China and Turkey, need to be on the same sheet of music and constantly saying the U.S. is financing terrorism, it is backing terrorism, it is providing terrorists from Saudi Arabia the opportunity to go up and to try and destabilize Syria, to steal its natural resources.
But Mr. Bennett, these countries have been doing that for a good part of this conflict now. Do you suggest then that Syria basically be okay with U.S. presence on its soil and tolerate those militant groups that it backs to operate on its soil in the eventuality that it may not get attacked by the U.S.?
No, they can't tolerate it at all, because they will be attacked. It is a matter of time. That's why they can't tolerate a single troop on their soil, because the U.S. and Israel and Saudi Arabia will use that to exploit it to achieve their end game agenda, whether it takes a year or a decade. These people are pathological. They are obsessed with this fantasy, this obsession of full spectrum dominance. And Syria has been labeled the key domino. If that falls, then Turkey would fall. Europe would be overwhelmed to the point where they would be enslaved to the United States for security, and Russia would be consumed with dealing with these terrorists on its southern flank, and Iran would be consumed with battling that. This is the battle of the bulge.
And so here we go. I'm going to read out of Isaiah chapter 17. And I think in the next part of this, I'll just re-upload the Bashar al-Assad interview since it's too long anyway. Shalom. And, as Gad was overcome by the troop, we know that the troop is Esau, the so-called white man. Behold, Damascus will cease from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Roar are forsaken, they will be for flocks, which shall lie down, no one shall make them afraid. The fortress shall also cease from Ephraim, the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. Shalom.